Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be here and have the opportunity to talk about an issue near and dear to my heart, and that is how do we end the euthanasia of our closest companions. This is a great forum. I really want to send a note of thanks to the Animal Welfare League for putting this on and bringing all of you from across Australia and New Zealand to here to put the power of coalitions and the power of thought behind how are we going to stop killing dogs and cats. What I found is that talking to many of you is that I think that power is right here in this room. Because every one of you has something to bring to the table, either your experience or your resource or what you know, and maybe more importantly, who you know. And just the conversations that I've heard so far have been really inspiring. What goes on at lunch, what goes on at break, may be the key to success. So please take the opportunity to meet folks you haven't met. Reach out across. If you came in the same car, please don't eat lunch with the people you came in the same car. Find somebody new, pair up, and find out what they're doing, and maybe you can help, or maybe they can help you, because really that's how we're going to get there. Let's see, well, I have a remote here. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see what we got here. Well, here's the big dream. A world where every life is sacred, where every animal is treated with respect, kindness, and compassion. But is it realistic? And it's so timely that you have in your folder that Animal Sheltering Magazine article, which referenced a paper that came out in 1989, In the Name of Mercy by Ed Dubin. And if you haven't read that, I have to say, when that article came out, and call me an old dog, I've been in animal sheltering 30 years now, I was really upset. Because Ed Dubin challenged us. And he said, you know where animals die? They die in shelters. And shelters should be humane societies, and should be refuges, and maybe you're breaking your promise. So when I come back to, is getting to zero realistic? I gotta say, hell yeah. Because if you don't believe that it's realistic, you're at the wrong conference. Maybe there's another one down the way here, another room that you've wandered into. Because if you don't hold this dream central to what you do every day and what programs you affect and your actions and how you treat every animal that comes into your custody and care, we're not gonna get there. Is it realistic where every animal is treated with respect and kindness? Absolutely. Can we save them all today? We're not there yet. Can we save them all tomorrow? Maybe not, but bet we save more tomorrow than we save today. We've got to hold that dream that getting to zero is possible, and moreover, it's essential. How will we know when we've arrived? And what does zero look like? And I think one of the challenges we have is someone else keeps deciding what zero is. Is it ending the euthanasia of healthy pets? Is it ending the euthanasia of healthy, treatable, and manageable pets? Is it ending the euthanasia of them all? And it keeps changing depending on who you speak with. Some may say it's a 90% live release rate. Some may say it's not good enough till it's 100. Some may say you're not at zero euthanasia unless there's zero euthanasia. Let's go back to that treating every animal with kindness and respect. And at some point, euthanasia is part of our toolbox. I think we might treat animals in some ways better than we treat each other. But I think that who gets to decide is really the values of our community. Our humane societies have a responsibility to lead those values. And I think we have to demonstrate in our animal care and control agencies and our humane societies and our veterinary clinics that we have to hold every life of value, and we have to treat every life with respect, kindness, and compassion. You know, I've put these things up here and I said, what are the barriers? One of the things that we've talked about is resources. Well, we can't get to zero until we have more money. We can't get to zero until we have another shelter. We can't get to zero unless we have more staff and more programs. Maybe you have the tools right now. Maybe someone at your table has the tool you need and you should partner with them. I think resources may be something we put out there as something, until we have that, we can't step up. I bet there's something you can do today, and what you're going to learn today and in this conference, you can take home and make a difference for animals in your shelter, in your agency, in your foster homes. I think barriers to getting to zero are also our values. How we treat cats is so much different than how we treat dogs. And we do that not only in our community, but we do that within our shelters. We fast-track dogs, we hold on to them, we do behavioral enrichment, and for cats, we put in a 2x2 cage, and we hope they survive. Do we work as hard for cats as we do for dogs? Some of you cat-centric people are like, yes, absolutely. I think take a close look for those of us who operate full-service shelters with species across the boards. Are you treating cats the same as you do dogs? Are our values getting in the way of getting to zero? And then our programs. Have your programs changed in the last 5 years? If they haven't, the world around us has changed incredibly so. Are we looking for ways to say no to our clients? Most of us have got adoption policies that are just prove it to me you're worthy of this cat. Prove it to me you're a good pet owner. Prove it to me you're not coming in to take this animal and do bad things to it because you came to an animal shelter. Are our programs our barriers to getting to zero? And we've met the enemy, and here's where animals die. It's in our shelters. It's where animals die. If we want to stop killing animals, I'm going to tell you one of the most successful strategies is to keep them out of the shelters, to empower pet owners to solve their own problems, to assist our clients and our veterinary hospitals with getting the care that they need so their pet stays in the home. And it's holding that ideal that preserving the bond that already exists may be the best way to getting to zero. It may be in not only preserving that bond, but enhancing the bond between someone who's found a pet. Please don't accept more animals into your shelters than you can care for. I know that sounds heretical. I know that sounds like, but we're an animal control agency. We have to take them in. If you hold first and foremost your value that getting to zero is where we're going to be, that animals should be treated with respect, compassion, and kindness, look, you will find other strategies that keep pets out of your shelter. One of the simplest things that we've done is to change to managed intake. That may be a euphemism for limited intake. We call it strategic admissions. We call it admission by appointment. Whatever that means, whatever we call it, it means that you don't take in more animals than you can care for. If we were private citizens and we took in more than we can care for, what would we call them? Hoarders. And what happens if they took in more animals and they killed the surplus? What will we call them? And that is how most of our shelters operate. And I'd like to challenge you to think of creative ways to keep pets in the home, as also to provide more services to those kind people who have said, I found this little woebegone creature, I care for him so much, I'm bringing him to you to shelter. How do we help those people solve that animal's homelessness? How do we help them keep that pet in the home for a few more days, a week, a month, until you have the resources to take into them? Shelters are the most dangerous place for dogs and cats. If we're going to get to zero, we need to reduce the threat of shelters to dogs and cats. Hey, I operate an animal shelter, and I am not telling you you're doing anything wrong. I'm asking you to look at what you do that can help more animals. When I came to the Oregon Humane Society, we were taking in 17,000 dogs and cats a year, and about 3,000 left alive. And it was acceptable to take them in all day long, 150 a day in the summertime, and take them from the admission counter, walk down the hallway to the euthanasia room. We were a humane society. We were not an animal control agency. We did not have council contracts. We did not have money for services or contracts to provide animal welfare. We were a humane society. But that was customary. And when Ed Duvin's article in 1989 came out and said, hey, shelters are contributing to the problem of euthanasia, man, did that hurt. And probably like some of the things I'm saying today. And it's probably taken me, probably took years for that to settle in, to realize I have a choice operating a shelter. I have a choice as a shelter worker. I have a choice as someone who cares about animals. I have a choice as a donor to what I support and where we're going. And I support a vision where animals are treated with kindness, respect, and compassion. And that starts in the sheltering community. That starts in the rescue agency. And that starts with all of you in this room. Does this sound like something that is unachievable? Does it sound like something we can't start doing tomorrow? I'm not saying that euthanasia is not an effective tool. I'm not saying we're there today. I'm saying the first step is what we choose in our own agencies, and the first step is what we choose with our programs and our employees and our volunteers, who we work with, and how we do our jobs every day. When we look at our adoption programs, are they asking people to prove it, or are we treating people with the same level of respect that we would ourselves, that we would ask? When it comes down to it, all I hear is that if we only had $1 million, or we only have more grants, if only Maddie's Fund would come and rain money on us. I like to say money doesn't buy happiness, but money gives you choices. Money gives you opportunity. And when you're selling success, you have more choices and you have more opportunities. These are the critical resources you need more than money. I'd say these are far more valuable than dollars in your pocket. It's a culture in your shelter. It's a culture of trust and leadership. It's a culture of trust in your clients. It's a culture of honor for that relationship people have with their pets. It's a culture of honor and respect for the intent of a volunteer who comes to your shelter to help walk dogs or clean cat cages or fold laundry. It's compassion. It's compassion for every life entrusted to you. It's compassion for the person who has less but still has love for their pet. And it's commitment to a live outcome for every pet that comes into your care. It's now yours. You own it, you're responsible for it, and I would ask you to have a commitment to a live outcome. We're not going to get there tomorrow, but if you start from that commitment that I'm committed to this pet, you'll find all kinds of ways to get to zero that you didn't think that you had before. Probably the last C I'd ask under that critical resources is curiosity. Be open to new information. There's new research that comes out every year that challenges what we think. The ASPCA is just an incredible wealth of research and putting these ideas forward, like pets as gifts. We used to think that pets as gifts, and maybe you still do, that if people got a pet as a gift, that gift would be discarded. And what we found is that pets given as gifts actually stay in the home longer than pets that people choose for themselves. I'm not advocating that you have people give pets, that you help people make the right decision, but it's one of those things that we think was bad. It's like free cats. That the price of adoption has nothing to do with the attachment to that pet. And here's why, one way you can to judge that is that 60% of our cats are choosing their new owner. They're not paying for the cat that walks up to their back door and says, hey, I want to sleep on your couch. You got a better brand of cat food than the guy who used to take care of me. They're not paying for those cats, but they love them just the same. So take that one step further. Why do we need to put economic barriers to placing of animals in our shelters? We need to take away the fear that these animals are going to be neglected when research says they're not. The attachment is the same. And they're already getting pets and providing them with great homes for a long time. And it's one of those things that we have to be open and curious about new information. I just want to say thanks to Lila Miller and her colleagues at the ASPCA for keep challenging what we know and going, oh, wow, I always thought that. And I got to say, even for me, free cats is just, it's sticking with me. I can go to $10 cats. I can go to $4 for 4th of July or whatever the promotion is. I can go for 2 for 1. I'm just struggling with the free cats. It's like, that Dr. Kate Hurley, she was just genius in saying the cats are already choosing their owners, and they're not charging those people to take them in. And they're getting great homes. Why are shelters putting up the barriers to these animals finding homes? Who owns the problem? We all do. We all own the solutions for this problem of overproduction, of lack of respect, for animal abuse and neglect, for a community that has values. It's not someone else's to solve. And I know you're here today because you want to get to zero. But to own that problem is to solve the problem. I'd like you to look around your team and say, not team at your table, but your team and say, do we have the right people on the bus? Do we have people who want to get to zero? Or do we have people who believe it's never going to happen and no one's going to adopt this dog and, people are just going to come here and take our animals and abuse them? Do we have the right people on the bus? One of the things we did at Oregon Humane was shift to a customer-centered focused business. It's like, well, you're an animal shelter. Don't you hire people who love animals? It's like, yeah, but they didn't like people. And that's who is going to get us to zero, are our clients walking in the door. So stop focusing on the animal skills. We can teach about vaccines and how to handle them and how to, clean a cat cage. But we want customer service focused employees, top to bottom. We'll teach them the animal stuff. And then we can't walk by it. If you see it, fix it. We have to have personal accountability for everything we do to make sure that we're not wasting time doing something else that doesn't get us to zero today, tomorrow, and the next day. When we built our new shelter, I have to say that it may not be as nice as the new RSPCA facility, but I had a foundation ask me, it's like, why would you go to this extent? These are just homeless animals. We have suites for cats, and we have a lobby it looks like a bank, a lobby when you come in, and it's a really nice facility. You're welcome to take a tour on our website at OregonHumane.org. But the question from the foundation was, why would you go to this extent? These are just homeless pets. I'm like, no, they're not. These are the Oregon Humane Society's pets. And if the Humane Societies don't lead the standard of care by their actions, who's going to set the bar? If we don't put a stake in the ground and say, this is what animals deserve, this is what the standard should be, and this is how we're going to deliver it, if we're not the ones leading it, who is? Is it the veterinary community? Are it breeders? Is it pet stores? I'm not lumping all these together. I'm just saying, who is it? It's us. We have to demonstrate it. We have to lead those values. And who's responsible for the live outcomes? It's nobody but us. So it's someone else going to come in and solve our problems. It's the smart people in the room today. It's those committed volunteers. It's the folks that serve on board of trustees. It's the folks who work in the clinic. And it's the folks in the trenches and the front lines who are responsible for the live outcomes. The question is how far do you go? When we talk about getting to zero, are we talking about end-of-life care and cancer treatment? I'm telling you, you go as far as you can until you can't. What's that? And that's going to be different for every agency. Do you have foster homes that can do hospice? Do you have foster homes that could take in little babies and raise little baby kittens and raise them up till they're 8 weeks and can be spayed, neutered, and found homes? Can you find foster homes that can help you do behavioral modification? How far do you go is an agency decision, but I think it starts with the lives in your care today. How do we treat them with respect and compassion and kindness and with a commitment to a live outcome? That's what drives your programs. That's what gets us to zero. We have to have goals. If we say, yeah, we're going to get to zero at some point, if it's like, yeah, it's a nice dream, You've got to put a date and a time and a goal to it. And maybe it's a step goal. We're going to reduce euthanasia by 10% in the next year. We're going to reduce euthanasia by 25%. We're going to get to zero by 2020. That's the magical thing about assigning a date to a goal. It's like all of us, when you're getting ready to go somewhere, like when you're ready to go on vacation, you are the most productive person on the week before you leave. I can't tell you all the things I got done in the week before I got on the plane to come here. It was incredible. It's a phenomenal amount of effort. Would I have done it if I hadn't left? Yeah, probably not. You know, I did 3 weeks worth of work in 1 week, and when I come back, there'll be 3 weeks worth of work that I'll do in the week following. But you have to set a goal for yourself and for your agency. There's a session on strategic planning. Please go into that thinking, including how we're going to get to zero as a goal in that strategic plan. Do your programs have integrity? Are your programs transparent? Does every part of every one of your programs have an element? What does this program do that gets us to zero? If it doesn't contribute to getting to zero, I've got to ask if we're still killing animals in another part of our facility. Why are we spending money on this other program? We're the humane societies. We are the animal welfare leagues. We are the rescue groups. If it's not getting us to zero, try not to distract yourself by other programs. At the end of the day, it's about commitment. And at the end of the day, it's about holding true that ideal of ending euthanasia. This was our old facility. Does this have a... No. Anyway, admissions is on the right. Euthanasia is on the left. Short walk. But I got to say that when I got there in 1989 and we had that $3,000 animal live outcome, we did a lot of things and got to a 94% save rate for dogs in that old crappy facility. I mean, it was nice in 1939 when it was built, but 50 years later, at an animal shelter with no maintenance, it wasn't. But we got to 94%. You don't need posh digs to make miracles happen. This is our new facility, and when we were able to tell our community we had a commitment to life and we were doing great things and we could sell success, we had the resources to build a $10 million facility. Cash is still king. You still got to pay employees. You still got to buy vaccines, whatever new whiz-bang disinfectant. You got to buy unlimited Kongs to keep your dogs sane in their kennels. When you start talking about success, when you start talking about the lives you save, when you reframe the discussion to commitment and compassion, that's what donors want to hear. They don't want to hear how many lives you lost. They don't want to hear how many that, why the need is so great that you need to do this because it's built on the backs of animals you couldn't save. You want to talk about success. You want to demonstrate that commitment, and that's what gets you cash to do more. Instead of talking about, we need your support to help us end euthanasia because we can only save and we lost so many, and we're showing pictures of dead animals and we're showing pictures of sad animals in our direct mail pieces that go out. No one wants to participate in that. If they do, it's a $10 gift. And you're talking about the lives you save, it's a $1,000 gift. Cash money doesn't buy you happiness, but it does give you choices about what you can do. This is why we're here. It's the power of networking. I was listening to a discussion about someone who said, well, we operate a really large veterinary hospital, and we can do all kinds of great things. And a person over here says, we operate a large shelter, but we don't have a veterinary hospital. Bingo. Let's get you working together. Not everyone needs to do everything. And that's what we find in the States is that my colleagues would like to emulate either the Oregon Humane Society or the Animal Humane Society in Minneapolis because we have full service programs. But you don't need to do everything. OHS steps out and helps many agencies that don't have a veterinary clinic with their medically fragile pets. That's how we can help those agencies be a success. We help transfer in animals from shelters who have too many, and from rescue groups who want to save them but don't have enough foster homes. We can help. Not everyone needs to do everything, but within this room, I'm certain there's every program we need to get to zero. Within this room. And that's the power. You folks have already demonstrated your commitment to getting to zero by making time, taking a week out of your work. You're volunteers, you're stepping away, you're leaving your horse with a gash in the leg. Thank you, Nell, for coming here. And one of the investigators will be talking to you later about the care for it. You can only go so far now, right? So doing that. We need to leverage each other's skills. I love going to conferences because I get so inspired what someone else is doing, and I learn so much. And then we're going to share those resources. What do you have that someone else's need? What can you teach them to do? What can you learn from them? Because we can't do it as individuals, and we can't do it as silos. Can't be just this agency, and this agency, and this volunteer group circling around the fringe trying to get into that agency. You need to share what you have. You need to learn from others. You need to be open to folks who have a different idea about doing things. Because I got to tell you, we have not solved it. As long as we're still killing dogs and cats, we don't have the magic solution. But maybe there's a piece of it here, and there's a piece of it here. And when you're talking and you're having a glass of wine tonight, thanks to our sponsor, Purina, that you're able to piece together a solution. I'll be talking about the power of coalitions at another session, and that's really where we've seen the magic of a coalition coming together, and we've seen euthanasia drop for cats 25% in 3 years in our community. 25%. I got to tell you, the biggest solution to that was all the heads of the animal welfare agencies sitting down once a month. We all worked for a long time. The same community, we had some new players come and go, but we sat down and realized she didn't have two heads. You know what? And he wasn't as bad as I thought he was. You know what? He likes to go bird watching. God darn it. I like to go bird watching. Maybe we can talk about that. Got to work together, got to share, make it a success. We talked about marketing, keeping it positive. Your donors are supporting you because they love animals. So stop showing them pictures of sad animals. You're just making them sad. And you're setting up your brand as the place where animals die. So you might think that showing them pictures of some tragically woebegone pet is going to unlock the keys to their bank account. It's going to get you a small gift. When you start talking about how many you saved, you talk about this pet is in his new home, and you look at him, he's loving, he's sleeping in the bed with Timmy, all in a good way. That's what gets you success. That's what your donors want to hear. That's why they support you. They love animals. So help them feel that you love animals by showing them pictures of happy animals and the good work you do. I want you to tell a story and stop talking about numbers. Stop talking about scope and rates and all of that. Those are good for the numbers junkies that some of us are, but your donors want to hear about Buffy. They want to hear how Buffy came in, was found in the streets, how Buffy got through your foster program, was spayed and neutered, went through behavioral modification, went through some training, went on a dog walk with a volunteer, and here's the perfect home that came. I want you to tell stories about animals that don't fit the model. Tell stories about your old pets. Tell stories about anything other than purebred dogs and cats. Because that's what your donors think you only have is sad and woebegone animals. Tell them about things that that are cute, that don't fit the model, that jar their sense of predictability of what an animal shelter deals with. Tell them about perfectly healthy pets that come in and find homes. Start building your brand as a place where lives are saved, where you're committed, and it's more than the broken, the wounded, the sad, and the dejected. There are many folks in this room that are far more gifted in social media than I am, but I can tell you the power of that is just astonishing. Put one happy story, empower your volunteers to put a happy story on their Facebook page about something that happened in your shelter and watch it spread like wildfire, as opposed to sad stories. Give them something happy they can, give them canned stories they can send out, inspire them to talk about, well, who did you save today? Would you mind telling your friends about it? Tell 10, tell 100, tell 200, and see where that gets you. There are some great resources out there about keeping animals healthy and sane. Is the Association for Shelter Veterinarians has a great resources. The ASV guidelines, are you all familiar with those? The Association of Shelter Veterinarians Guidelines for Shelter Management. Really tremendous work has been done in there, and the follow-up to that is ASPCA Pro. The ASPCA not only has an incredible website with all kinds of marketing tools and forms and charts and everything you need to operate a fine animal rescue or shelter is up there, lots of training, inspirational stories. I love that they have a 100,000 adoption initiative, so that people share their ideas about how that they increase their adoptions over a 3-month time. And if you're looking for adoption promotion ideas, just go mine that. You don't have to reinvent it. You just have to steal it. And the ASPCA does a lot to help us put it up by putting it up there and being great resources. They're very approachable. You can call and find out anything you need. Great resource agency. Not affiliated with the ASPCA. I'm just a big fan because I think that knowledge is power. PetSmart Charities, they do some great webinars. Again, it's free training for you and your staff, a way to find out new information about what's going on, who's doing what, how can I help? Because that curiosity, that's what's going to get us there. If you're doing the same thing you were doing 5 years ago, I challenge you to think that you might be just behind the times because it's different. How we treat cats, you can't put them in 2x2 boxes anymore. You know, who knew we needed 11.2 square feet per cat in order for them to stay healthy and sane. When we talk about a focus on reducing length of stay in shelters, this is a really key component to increasing your live release rate, and that's coming out of research, and that kind of information is on ASPCA Pro and on PetSmart Charities website. Staying curious, being committed, putting your whole organization's focus on getting to zero is how we're going to get there. Being distracted, feeling as a victim, feeling like if I only had something that is hard to get or difficult, is taking your mind away from how do I save this cat in my shelter today. Even if it's setting a goal of we're going to euthanize 10 less pets this week. I saw one shelter as like 1 a day. That was their mantra, 1 less euthanasia a day. When we talk about inspiring our folks to get involved, I want every one of our staff employees to be an advocate for an animal. Usually we hire employees and we say, now don't get involved, don't get attached, because they come and they go. It'll just hurt too much. She's shaking her head, man, we want them to get attached. We want them to fall in love. We want to carry a picture around. We want to say, can I make a little video of that cat? I know cat videos are tough. Look at Andre the cat. Come on, they do sell. YouTube's got endless videos of cats on it. Can you get your volunteers invested in that individual? Because I want them fighting for it. I want somebody to raise their hand and say, I don't think Buffy should die today. Let me try this. Let me look there. Because if we don't acknowledge the loss of every life, we don't celebrate the success of every adoption, we're not doing enough. We can't stand by and be victims as the agencies where animals truly are losing their lives. It's up to us in this room. If we want to see animals not die, we have to stop killing them. And you're thinking, how can she possibly say that? I'm not meaning that you are the cause. All I'm saying is we are the solution. And it's up to us to set the bar, to put a stake in the sand and say, after this date, no more. We're going to change our admission policies and not take in more than we can care for. We're going to expand our foster homes to give us more breathing room so that when animals come in, we don't have to make a decision right now. We don't have to take them from the admission room to the euthanasia room during kitten season. We need to have those discussions internally. We need to have those discussions across our industry. We can certainly start with those discussions in this room, how we're going to get every day to one less dog, one less cat, how our agencies are going to see a 10% drop or a 5% drop. How are we going to get to zero is up to us. It's not anyone else's problem. It's up to us. And I really and truly believe that that day is going to come. We see phenomenal drop in euthanasia in areas where that becomes the focus. In Portland, Oregon, we don't have a dog overpopulation problem. We don't see puppies. We get giddy if somebody brings us a litter of puppies. And right now, all of our dogs, most of our dogs are coming from shelters outside of the region. Why? Because we put in a huge spay-and-neuter program years ago, because we set Portland as a most dog-friendly city in the U.S., because we had a goal to ending the euthanasia of dogs and cats, and we worked together. Portland's one of those communities where if I have a good idea, you want to hear it, and if you have a good idea, I want to hear about it. And that's where it starts, and that's why you're here today. And I look forward to seeing what happens next year at this conference when folks are talking about, I sat next to, and she had a really great idea, and I learned from Danielle over here about chocolate sales in veterinary hospitals, and that was a way to raise money, or foster homes doing this. Put your minds together, and let's put a stake in the sand and say we're not going to kill any more dogs and cats. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity.